Hey, it's Alice. I'm here with a very messy, crappy desk. Well, messy for me at least. I'm heading out, as I mentioned in a previous video, I'm going to Mexico. And I'm leaving soon, so if you've been in that situation, you know that you're kind of wrapping up everything and kind of busy, but I just wanted to do the Victoria real estate numbers for the last week of August. They just came out this morning, and so they're not the final numbers for August, but just what we're at this month so far. And just a couple of interesting articles that I saw. It's just kind of, I've been busy the past couple of weeks, so it's just things that I've been reading in the news that are of interest to me and maybe to you. So anyways, so Victoria, not been a super busy month, as I said in my last update. That was the first week of August. Now we're in, August 27th. It's almost the end of the month. The numbers are a little bit lagging, and I'll just go right into them. So, published this morning, the sales so far that have gone through are 480. Last year that was 736 for the same month. So that's down 65% so far. Mind you, when you get to the end of the month, you gain some ground and there'll be more sales clearing. Like I have 2 going through on the 31st, so there's 2 more, right? So that number will climb, but 480 getting to 736, I don't think it'll get to the same number of sales as last year. It might get up to 600 or so, but we'll see. I'll update you. But anyways, that's the sales. New listings are at 819, and last year there was 1,035 new listings come to market. That's behind. That's like, we've roughly done 79% of the listings, so it's close. This doesn't concern me too much. It's just kind of, August is a weird month to me in general. I find that most of the people that I'm talking to about listing, they're getting their house ready and they're kind of wrapping up their vacations, and then they're planning on listing in September. So we'll see about that. I just know August, I find it really hard to predict. So anyways, sales are, or the listings are a little bit behind. Yeah. Active listings, it's the same old story. It's at 2,541 active listings in the Victoria real estate market versus last year's 1,917. That's a 32% increase as of today. And that might go up. It really depends on how many sales clear at the end of the month versus how many new listings there are. So again, we'll see where it's at. But so far for me, my general impression is the sales are kind of looking pretty crappy. But we'll see what happens. As I said, it'll always ramp up just a little bit at the very last day of the month. The lawyers are always really busy and kind of crappy because everybody's rushy with the conveyancing packages. So yeah, and in the real estate kind of news arena, I thought it was interesting that the Toronto Real Estate Board, or TREB as people kind of abbreviate it, they had an appeal at the Supreme Court that was denied. Basically what they're trying to do is, can't remember the name of the person who started it, but they want the Real Estate Board of Toronto to release the restrictions on the members, like the realtors, to release real estate data, like prices that the properties actually sold for versus what they were listed for. Like that's not really publicly available. As you know, if you go on realtor.ca or whatever, you don't see what they're actually selling for. And as a realtor, they don't like us sharing that kind of information. Like if somebody called my brokerage and they ask, hey, what did my neighbor's house sell for? Yeah, most of the time a realtor will tell you, some won't, but basically, I don't know the name of the commissioner, it's in the article, but yeah, they're trying to make that so that members can more freely share that information. And it's really interesting because I find it weird that the real estate board thinks that it's a good idea not to share that stuff and not to be transparent with people, but to me, I'm struggling to find why it's such a big deal that people know what houses are selling for. I guess, I could see like a person selling their home, like they don't want the whole neighborhood to know what they sold their house for, but, in general, giving you know, buyers, sellers, just the members of the general public access to that information, it kind of paints a more clear picture for people, and they don't really need to rely on having to hire a real estate agent just to give them information or to watch my videos. You know, you could just go online and look at that information and see a more clear picture of the nature of the real estate market. I don't know, it doesn't bother me, people knowing that information, but it'd be interesting to know what people think about that, because yeah, their appeal was denied and they have 60 days to release those restrictions. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to see what's happening with that, but you know, I don't know if it'll happen in BC, but you know my opinion on it. I think transparency is a good thing, and you know, maybe there's a halfway point with that, but things are changing, right? Lots of regulations changing in the Canadian real estate market right now. And another interesting article I saw, well, it's not like anything new, but I know a lot of people, you know, they're either bubble deniers or they are you know, really staunchly they believe in the bubble, and hey, I believe in the bubble. I tend to believe it's real. It's a Canadian real estate bubble, and yeah, I understand people who don't see it, but you know, this article was kind of a good one in laying out the stages. It's from Better Dwellings. Yeah, I get their feed. If you sign up for their feed on Better Dwellings, they'll just send it to your inbox, and they do a really nice job of writing things so that everybody can understand, and they have really nice statistics too. Like, they just paint a good picture. So if you want like a feed of that stuff, just sign up for the daily emails. They'll send out like 1 or 2. But anyways, they had an article about the Canadian real estate market doing an exhaustion move, and essentially they laid it out in, how many steps? They laid out 7 steps for how you see an exhaustion move, or how it happens. And they go through the stages. Like stage 1 is volume increase. So this was really interesting when I read through it all, because I'm like, oh, check, 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 and we're basically at stage 6/7. And you know, I would recommend you read it if you're kind of just trying to see or understand how the bubble is created and why it's created. But it basically is talking about, like, stage 1 is volume increase, where the volume of sales suddenly increases. And this is kind of like, for us, it's like 2015, 2016, when people start seeing houses giving really good returns, and they start buying up properties because they think, oh, it's an increasing asset, and they want to get on that wave and ride it up. And it's kind of like fear of missing out, like people are just jumping to buy. And then you see the stage 2, which they talk about, and they outline that, which is the price increases, because basically it's just been like fuel thrown on that fire, and people are buying and buying and buying, and there's tons of buyers and not a lot of properties to buy, and the prices just go up and up and up. And then stage 3 is inventory decrease. This was Victoria market, at least. That was like late 2016, 2017, just brutal inventory, lots of competition. There's less inventory because people who own houses see the prices going up, and they think that it's gonna just skyrocket, and they just want to ride the wave up and see how much money they can get out of it. So nobody's listing their properties because they want to see if they're gonna hit the jackpot in their house, and you know, who knows how high it'll go. So people don't list. And then stage 4 is price capitulation, which that shortage of inventory creates basically a feeling amongst the buyers where they feel like if they don't buy now, they'll never get in the market. And it basically forces people to do crazy things and to overpay for properties and to bid up listings, and you know, that's kind of where you see properties being auctioned off almost, because people are willing to pay anything just to get in the market because they don't want to miss out on riding that wave up. So that's stage 4, as they called it, which, yeah, that happened. That was summer of 2017, and it was nuts, and I'll never forget it. Stage 5 comes with inventory increase. This is when the sales start slowing and people start feeling like they're priced out of the market and they don't know what the market's doing. And You see some of the people that were in stage 3 where the inventory was decreasing and they're holding onto their properties. That's when they start seeing a few of the buyers dry up. Those people start selling their properties, and because they're not sure what's going on, but some people still hold. And then stage 6 and 7. Stage 6 is bad news, so that's regulation from the government, mortgage rate increases, clamping down on lending. Yeah, that all sounds familiar. I think that happened recently. Yeah. And buying activity drops off because people are scared off. And that's exactly what's happened. So, interesting. I mean, they're kind of laying out what happens for an exhaustion move, and this is like to a T, this is what we're going through. So, at least this is what I've experienced. So, those non-bubble believers, I don't know what happened in your world, but anyways. So that's stage 6, so that was pretty recent and we're still feeling the effects of that. And then stage 7 is supply flood. So people who decided to hold and thought that their properties were going to go up, you know, to $1 million or whatever, they're deciding to cash out because they're like, oh my god, there's no buyers, the inventory is building, sales are taking longer and prices are dropping, and that's when they start to sell. I will say that's when not too smart people decide to sell. The smart people, I always find the smartest people or the richest people that I deal with, they tend to sell just before the regulations. Like they kind of can see the writing on the wall and they're smart enough to take that cream off the top before they wait too long and then everybody else starts to sell. You know, it's kind of like you almost get FOMO of like fear of missing out of selling at the highest price. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, you get buyer's FOMO and then the seller's FOMO, and they're all like, oh my god, it's not going to keep going up, I'm shocked, it's a bubble, oh, you know? Even though it's like, if you just paid attention you would know that. But anyways, I thought it was an interesting breakdown, and you know, if you're interested, I would just check it out. Just read the article, I'll link it below. And it just does a really great job of outlining all the stages that we've gone through, and you could almost put like, you know, the dates beside it because we've gone through all these steps, and you know, it doesn't make me happy, but I think, you know, it just paints the picture well. And you know, all I'll say is I've had interactions with people who play the market smartly. Smartly, is that a word? Intelligently. And people who react emotionally. And I always find people who react emotionally do the worst business deals. The people who react intelligently and are a bit more calculating about their decisions, they tend to do a lot better. I'll play out an example. I just had people get in touch with me who I talked to last year, and they were a lovely couple, amazing people, and they own a property and they use it for rentals, but they said, you know, we don't actually own something ourselves, and we want to sell our property and buy something else. And they wanted a bit of candor with me as to whether we were in a bubble. And anybody who's watched me knows that I'm pretty straightforward and blunt about that. Yeah, I think it's a bubble, obviously. And, you know, I told them my opinion was, hey, you should sell your property. And then, like, they had an opportunity to live with their parents, even though they're older. A lot of parents have suites and rooms in their house or whatever. And I was like, sell your property, live with your parents for a couple years, year, whatever. Let the prices drop. Let the opportunity come to you. So you get your money out at the highest point, and then you just sit on that money, and then you buy when it drops. And, you know, I think it's a great idea. That's what I would be doing if I had parents to live with, you know. I think people who sell and then slum it for a couple years and are like holding onto their money and they're just being smart about it, those are the people that are going to get a good deal and they're going to be in good financial shape. And you know what? If there's another bubble that happens, maybe they can cash out and then slum it again and move up in the world, right? So I had those people come to me and they decided that they're ready to sell their place, and I think that they'll probably end up holding on to the money and sitting on it and waiting. And I'm like, yes, people who are listening, this is great. And, you know, it's just kind of like separating, you know, the winners from the losers, because, you know, there's other people, and they're not losers, but you know what I mean? Like, they're just not playing the game how you should if you want to try and make smart moves. Like, for one example, I met this couple who owned a house with an upstairs suite and a downstairs suite, and it was just purely a rental home, and it was in pretty bad shape, and they were wanting to sink money into it. And I said, you know what, if you sold it now, you could literally, and this was like summer 2017, I was like, if you sold it and listed it now, you could sell it in a bidding war, and you could sell it with dog crap on the carpet, and you'd have multiple offers for above ask, like all day long, right? You'd sell it in a day. And they said, well, we have renters and we want to keep them in, and they're on a year lease, you know, but they're willing to break it if we want to sell, but you know, we really like them and I think we'll keep it. And so anyways, long story short, they decided that they want to keep the property, and even after I crunched the numbers, it was basically if they had sold it then, like counting all the mortgage that they had on that, they would have cleared about $200,000. And if they kept it, they're basically making $300 net income per month off the rental, because they have to pay for the, you know, all the financing and all that, and the hydro was included and all that. So they're only clearing about $300 a month. And this is what I keep saying to people with rental properties: if they've appreciated and they've owned it a long time and there's a lot of equity sitting in there, it doesn't make sense for me for them to keep it at this point if their goal is to own multiple rental properties. Because in this example, they could have cashed out and made $200,000 profit and sat on that and waited for the market to crash, you know, or they could just keep making $300 a month of profit. But how many months would you have to hold on to that to make $200,000 in profit? Right? Does that make sense to you? Because in my logic, if that was me, I would have sold that, made the $200,000, put that in a bank account, let it appreciate for a while, and then when the market crashes, you could come back and put down payments on multiple like condo units that are easy to rent. You know what I mean? You could buy multiple properties. You could have split that up and put $50,000 on 4 properties and then rent them out, and probably buy them a hell of a lot cheaper when the market crashes. So, you know, it's just, in my opinion, with this whole bubble thing and with people trying to make moves that benefit them the best, like everybody's just trying to do their best job for themselves and try and grow their money, and I think that's awesome. We all work really hard for our money, but it's those kind of situations where you look at people and you compare and you see people who are willing to suffer a little bit and to slum it a little bit and save their money and be patient, and then there's people who just don't get the market, you know, and they hang on to things, or they buy things when they're too expensive. And it's just like in that case where the people are hanging on to their investment property because they want to be own investments, where they could have been even more so an investor if they would just take their money out, hold it, and wait for a little while. You know, even like I watch interviews with Robert Kiyosaki. Like I mentioned his book a while ago, he's big on owning properties and like apartment complexes, and he normally is like, you buy and you hold forever. But even he's saying like, yeah, my properties have tripled in value and people are offering to buy them, yeah, I'm gonna sell them, right? Because you just can't make those kind of returns in a normal market. You know, it's just like, it's really interesting how people look at it, and there's different personalities that come to play. But I don't know, I think if you are looking to get into the market, don't buy if you're a flipper, you know. It's just not the time for that. And if you're looking to buy a property for renting out and as an investment, same thing, just wait. If you're buying for your principal residence, then okay, yeah, fine, I get it, you know. Like when I work with people who are buying and they're like, this is our family home, we're gonna live here for a long time, and we're buying conservatively, then I'm like, right on, do what you want to do. That's great, as long as you're not going to try and flip it for a quick profit. So anyways, that's just kind of what I'm experiencing, and you know, it just interests me how people react to the market, and it will interest me to see where they are at financially down the road as well, because it's kind of like that old study they did with kids, and the kids who are willing to you know, they give a kid a marshmallow and then they're like, you can have it now, or you can wait longer and have 2 marshmallows, and the kids who wait for the 2 marshmallows tend to do a lot better in life. And it's kind of the same thing with the real estate market. You have people who are like, take a marshmallow now or not, you know. But anyways, yeah. And other than that, for the market, what I'm finding is if you are buying, or selling, I'm finding that a lot of people are having deals almost collapse. I've had on a couple of my deals, the subject removal period has had to have been extended by like at least a week to a week and a half, and that's where in situations where the subject removals are already really long, like 3-week subject removals are being extended. And I've had properties that I've been watching for people, and I'm finding that they're having to extend their property subject removals as well. So I don't know, I'm thinking, to me it seems like the financing is the biggest holdup and people are having difficulties getting the financing in place. So that'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think I'm hearing that we're supposed to be expecting a rate increase coming down the pipeline like in fall, I believe. I'm not 100%, but thereabouts, and it'll be interesting to see what happens then, because yeah, I'm finding that deals are harder to put together because of that, and it's just taking longer just to get the subjects off, you know, just to see if the deal's going to go through. But yeah, anyways, if that's interesting, I don't know, it's just kind of my thoughts, and I liked reading through that article about the stages of a bubble, I guess you would say. But anyways, I am, as I said, going off to Mexico, and I will be gone for like a week and a half. So if I can do an update from Mexico, I certainly will. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email or comment below. You can like my videos and subscribe if you want more. And yeah, I'll be back in September. So have a great rest of your summer, and we'll talk later. Bye.